Hello everyone, welcome back to A Life Learned. Today I wanted to reflect with everyone about just how hard it really can be to keep up with a YouTube channel. Now, I of course mean the ones where people actually post to and try to keep up with networking and such like that. Everyone technically has a channel in order to comment or participate on YouTube, but I mean the ones that are actually run and making content, and in that sense, there's just a lot more to it than I think some people realize when they're not actually trying to keep up a channel themselves. A lot of it I didn't realize until I started trying to do it myself, but um, the fact of the matter is that it can be a full-time job, especially when you're doing it all by yourself and you want to actually grow and progress, because there's a lot of different parts to it that if you don't keep up with it, you don't grow. And so to that regard, one of the biggest things that I really didn't think about when I was first starting was networking. I got on YouTube to try and start sharing ideas and to start growing my ability to speak because I want to become a speaker. And I never really thought about, networking with other people or connecting with other YouTubers. I wanted to connect with people in general over the ideas, but wasn't really, particularly looking to work with other people per se. But collaborating is just such a huge part of growing your audience and of connecting with new people and getting yourself seen. And then just participating in comment threads and being a part of different ideas that other people are sharing is also a huge part of growing your channel. And that takes a lot of work. I mean, if you really participate, genuinely watch the whole video, and then leave an insightful or meaningful comment, that just takes a lot of energy sometimes. And then on top of that, participating in your own comments, keeping up with the people that are commenting on your video and trying to actually have a conversation with them, because that's the idea, that can be really demanding. And just all the different parts of even just trying to post a video. I haven't even gotten into trying to make a video, but once you've posted it, like making annotations or cards, that's huge for getting yourself shared or having it more accessible to people, and that takes a while. And then closed captions, something I'm trying to start doing with my channel, but that takes quite a while too. There's a faster way of doing it if you use the automatics and just edit them, which is what I've been doing lately, but still very time consuming. And then thumbnails is something you always have to be careful of because that's half of what makes people click. And just like being very cautious of the first things that you say when you get into a video. Like, people tend to click away from a video within the first 15 seconds if you haven't caught their attention. So that is so challenging when you want to talk about an idea in-depthly and get people's attention and get people talking about it, but if you just didn't bring it up interestingly enough at first, everybody clicks away and no one cares, and that's just such an incredible challenge. And then when you want to start growing, you want to get your audience interacting, and so that's where you start taking video requests, which I have been for quite a while, and I have quite the list, to be honest. And I'm always open to new requests, by the way. Feel free to throw them at me, and it might take me a while, but I will get to it, I promise. I write them all down, and I get to them when I can. And in that way, I can really start building up your workload, especially when you want to genuinely keep up with people and make them feel like there's a purpose in asking for a video because you'll actually respond, sort of thing. So just so much work in all of the little details of just trying to post a video and initially get people's attention to talk about the idea. Now, just in like making a video, it depends what type of video you're going for and what your approach is, of course. Like in this particular video, I sort of vaguely brainstormed, came up with the idea, and then now I'm spewing ideas at you, and it's going to be completely unedited. But other content, my other main content, is highly edited. Half the time I spend like upwards of a week to 2 weeks scripting it, and then I spend upwards of 2 hours recording it, and then days and days editing it down, and then adding the imagery on top or whatever other type of stuff. Just so much work. Oh, and I even forgot to mention that in the scripting, there's like a ton of research within that, which is just a lot of mental energy, to say the least. And then once you've posted it, like one of the really great ways to get things going is to participate with your audience, to actually have the conversation. And as I was saying, that's just that can be a lot of cognitive energy. It can be really demanding on a person's just overall mental state. And one of the main things is my channel is in many ways a mental health channel. It's also just sort of sharing ideas and being progressive, being the change you want to see. But I do talk a lot about I do talk a lot about mental health things because I do have mental health issues. And in that way, my channel is sort of filling my spare time when I'm not being exceptionally mentally ill because I am on disability right now. And so that makes it even harder to keep up. And that's why I'd say that, you know, my channel hasn't grown exponentially fast or anything, just sort of been gradual about it. And it's mostly been because I haven't really been able to put my all into it. I haven't been able to network as nearly as much as I'd like to, or as much as an average YouTuber really should, because I've spent a lot of time dealing with depression and anxiety and just PTSD symptoms in general, and then life issues with court and stuff. It just can get very difficult when you're mentally ill and dealing with mental illness to the point that you can't work full time to keep up with something that is basically a full-time job, a YouTube channel. So yeah, it can be quite challenging, but not impossible. If you can be okay with the fact that you're not growing super fast, you can still grow. Just keep up with, you know, certain ideas and don't completely let your socializing go. I've gotten quieter, but I haven't stopped. I do still try to click on people's videos and comment when I can. And another thing that I've struggled with quite a bit is when people really kindly and just lovely send me nice long messages where they just want to talk and just have a chat. And I welcome anybody to email me at those times. But when I'm at my lower mental health times, I can't get my brain to respond, to work up the ability to go through their words and be like, okay, this is what they said, and here's a reasonable response. It just won't do it. So it causes a lot of guilt, and it obviously slows my growth because the less I interact with people, the less they want to interact, right? You generally do it so that people respond. And to that degree, or to that regard, I'm really sorry to anyone who's ever emailed me and found that my response is super slow. I love that you guys email me. It means so much to me that you guys care enough to send me messages and to just think of me and to think of my channel and to like my content, to make requests, and to just chat. I appreciate your conversation so much, and I'm sorry that my mental health interferes as much as it does. I'm thankfully improving. Things are seeming to look up, and I'm looking forward to hopefully having an edited video out next weekend. But this weekend I'm celebrating my birthday, although it was last weekend, but I'm doing the celebration this weekend, so I'm sort of taking a break. But at the same time, things are starting to feel better, and so I'm hoping to start picking up in all the different things that are required in maintaining a YouTube channel. But as a lot of fellow YouTubers I'm sure are aware, and please feel free to comment below about your feels on how hard it can be, it just takes a lot to maintain a YouTube channel. It really can be a full-time job if you want it to grow and prosper and really like get out there, you know, and make progress. So when you're mentally ill, it's not the easiest thing. When you can't work full-time, it's hard to do a full-time job, right? But I do what I can. I'd probably say one of the hardest things about getting yourself out there is probably finding places to share yourself. I used to share myself a lot on Reddit, but they've become less okay with my posts at times. I've been called a spammer more often this year than I used to. And I'm really just trying to share my content with wherever I feel relevant, but Reddit is becoming a lot more pessimistic about posts. So, and I'm not super familiar with the internet either. I mean, if you know of a lot of different places to network, then that helps. But knowing of places to post is a big difficulty, I'd say, in getting yourself shared. But in the end, it is ultimately chaos. We can all put as much work as we want into our channels, and it can help you grow because it helps people see you, particularly when you make sure to tag and to title properly, because that helps in the YouTube searching. But it's really just chaotic in terms of if some random person picks up your content and really likes it and then throws it on their website or throws it in their Tumblr or Twitter or Ello or whatever, and then they have a lot of followers who also really like it. Like, it's just random chance in a lot of cases, and it's frustrating when you think about that, because you're like, all this work that I put into this, I deserve more. You know what I mean? Like, I'm working so hard. Can't you guys see that? Pay attention to me. Like my content. I totally feel for anyone who feels that way. And there are all the things I listed are things you can do. And they're a lot of work, but they are things you can do to influence how much your channel grows. But ultimately, even with all of that work, it is chaos. Though the work is still necessary, because even if your channel explodes, if you don't keep up with it, people will disappear quickly. People's interests fade very quickly these days. So maintenance is a big thing with keeping up with the channel, and it can be hard. It really can be, and that's why a lot of bigger YouTubers, like, they have teams of people doing their stuff. They have other people doing their editing. They have other people doing their posts and their captions and stuff. I'm doing it all. All of it. Everything. From script writing, to recording, to editing, to posting, to thumbnails, to captions, to everything. And I'm mentally ill. So it's a lot of work. Yep, a lot of work. But it's not impossible, and I think it's a great way to keep my spare time, and to help myself grow and connect with people while I'm dealing with my mental illness. So I have no regrets in all of the work I put into my channel. I just did kind of want to reflect with you guys that the fact that it really is a lot of work. It's not easy to keep up a well-maintained and you know, clean, nice channel. It's work. But if you really are passionate about the ideas you're spreading, then I really feel it's completely worth the work. And in that way, I appreciate everything that's come of my channel so far. Thank you guys so much for all the participation that you've shared with me over the last almost couple years. We're coming up on our 2nd anniversary. That'll be interesting. But yeah, in the end, it is a lot of work, but I feel if your approach is right, and if you're doing it autotelically, which is to do it for the experience, it's worth the experience. It's worth the work to get the results and to have the experience with everyone of sharing these ideas and making this content. So yeah, that's sort of my take on how hard YouTube can be as a job. It's not straightforward, just like blah on a camera and post it. This video, because I'm just blowing on a camera, won't get nearly as many views as a lot of my other edited content. So it does take work to get these things moving forward, but it is worth it. And so with that, I'd love if you guys could comment below on your opinions of maintaining a channel, if you are a YouTuber, of course, and how easy or hard you found it, the different things that you found easy or hard about keeping yourself up, and how you found a really good way to, or the different good ways of sharing yourself and spreading yourself, because, I mean, that's really the hardest part, and so why not share with that? Share with everyone your different methods, and we can try to help each other in growing our channels and just understanding the hard work that we do put into these little creations that we put together. And as always, please do join me again next week, where I try again to share a little something I've learned in life.